Hi everyone, myself Krish Shaitukam, very warm welcome to all. And this is the day 11 of Foundation AI series. So in this day we're talking about like a little bit basic concept of the mathematical concept. So that basic maths for this particular day is based on basic math. We cover literally basic math that is necessary for understand. And before moving to further depth of the mathematics, just I want to ensure that this thing like this concept people should like who actually following me that they should this concept should be clear. Okay, so the overall concept for today is like for mathematical concept we know that like some really important concept is like algebra, like a little bit concept around algebra that we should to know. And for this particular thing like agenda for today, overall agenda for today, the first entire agenda for today is like dimension, function and graph. So we'll discuss all this particular concept like dimension, function and graph. And that's the necessary part for understanding, and I cover all this little concept that you should to know about like basic math like constant variable. Those who actually not understand, so I keep it grounded for understanding, like I keep this particular and take the ground for understanding to the basic level to understanding much better. So overall to proper structure for understanding is like we discuss agenda and all this stuff. So this is an important part for before moving to the foundation layer to such as maths layer. So I basically what I started for there, like I keep this entire maths part, like this particular part of the maths, like you can say uh, in the entire mathematical layer, like I planned it for 50 to like 10 video on this mathematical concept like linear algebra, probability and statistic, and calculus is also in part, and little bit concept around it. So today is all about like basic concept for the mathematic that you should to know, like dimension, what is the dimension and all this stuff. So uh, again, if this particular video is going to productive for you and if you learn something from there, then it's my pleasure. So let's get started. Let's come to the first part, like first agenda is dimension. So what is dimension? So this is important part to discuss. And so let me understand a dimension. So what exactly dimension is, and how can you understand this dimension? So entire dimension space, like the way to understand dimension is all about something, the large unit of large context of information. Like if you have a large information and just distribute this information in like small unit, and each unit are different from each other, like they are not interdependent from each other. Okay, so it is all about like independent, measurable and direction. So direction dimension is defined as like independent, measurable direction. Okay, so it is independent. Like for example, as we know, like the dimension is considered as y, x and z axis. So this is the dimension. How can you define something? So now suppose the best way to understand dimension is like, now suppose this particular man is standing in entire map. Okay, this is the map. Let us understand, like this is a map of the Punjab, and this man is standing in this kinds of location. So how can you define, how can you give a context of this particular man standing in this entire map? How can you define this place? The way to define is like giving a dimension. So dimension actually describe how this man is standing, where is the, how much what is the y-axis, what is the x-axis, what is the like x and y axis, to giving an exact location. So that's the dimension. So dimension is all about giving information in independent species, like independent units. Like x axis so told about like how much it far away from their now suppose this is the Pakistan, you can say, and this is a Pakistan, and if you want to just look toward this particular thing, like how much this particular are far away from Pakistan and how much this particular uh, far away from the Rajasthan, you can take such a reference point. So how can you define something from, how can you relate two particular things? So that dimension is used. Okay, so the main uses of dimension is all about something like you can say like it's all about like something describing particular dimension by comparing two things, by taking a reference. Either you can take a reference from one, and how can you compare the two different contexts and two different data. So for understanding dimension, so we have two images. The first is when we're looking toward a dimension as real world scenarios, like how actually the human define a dimension. So dimension, for understanding dimension is you can say in the real world is all about physical description of data, like how much, like now the best way for understand car, the way to describe by dimension the length, width, and height, something like this. So that's actually define the dimension. So it's all about physical property. When you're describing a physical property in the real world, that's the dimension. And when you want to describe this particular thing as a in technical world, so it is all about property and features. uh, it is all about talking about like property and features. For example, we take in a technical terms, this is now, suppose this is a car, and how actually machine and particular artificial intelligence understand this particular thing like car. So understanding car, the way for understanding a particular machine, they're taking as a features and property of this particular car as in the form of number. Now suppose hp, speed and acceleration, and they convert entire features in numbers, 0.1, like something 0.2 and 0.3, and they compare different car by this particular feature. So when we're talking about technical term, like technical world, about the dimension, it is all about something features and property. So machine understand this all particular thing as a features and property, as converting into numbers in the form of vectors. So that's all about like dimension. So dimension defined in the second world, like the two image of dimension. The first one is like a physical description of data. So it's all about physical description of data in the form of the real world scenarios. When you want to just describe this all this particular stuff in this real world scenario, so you are in the right track to understand how this thing is working in this real world, is like something giving a understanding shape, color, or like length, width and height and all the physical description, like how much you give. Okay, so that's all about dimension. So in short, if I explain dimension, dimension is all about the unit of information which are independent from each other, and the best way to describe in technical terms, so we should to focus on like like in the case of the technical terms in artificial intelligence, like how actually artificial intelligence know this is a particular dimension or this is not a dimension. So how actually what the definition of a dimension according to artificial intelligence, according to like technology, it's all about features and property of particular object, the way to see. Okay, so that's all about dimension. And I think like the wave to independent measurable direction, so each dimensions are independent from each other, they are not connected with each other. Okay, so that's the dimension thing. So uh, we can understand more process like as we study like vector databases and all this stuff, and the dimension is very important, play important role in vector databases and vector search and vector algorithm, all this stuff. And vector embedding algorithm is responsible, so we previously discussed it about in a view in a past video. But that's the importance of dimension, so that's the important concept. And just I give you a bonus point for understand, like for the like constant and variable. So those who actually don't know what is a constant and variable, and this is a brief description about it, because of this is a few little word but they create a sense. Those who have a no don't like not understanding like what constant and variable. Constant is all about to consider this both kinds of things in such a way, like empty uh, like bucket, let understand bucket which is empty, and if you keep something, this is a constant. If this particular thing is like, if you don't keep anything else, like, that's called like variable. So variable is all about empty glass, and like a constant is all about filled glass. Okay, so variable is the possibility of something like anything else. So a variable is all about input, which is like infinity possibility. So that's called variable, and constant is a fixed number, which is okay. So that's all about like constant and variable. And that's important to know, like those who don't know what exactly constant and variable is. And let's come to that independent, measurable and direction. So that's called dimension. So on image 2, uh, we need to understand that's the important part of dimension, and dimension is rapidly used in artificial intelligence. And that's the important part of the artificial intelligence. Because of that, they need to understand the two different words and two different object, two different image. The wait for understanding is like dimension. So it's all about it. So that's all about dimension. Let's come to their next part. Hey, let's come to the next part. Like the first one is like you can say a function, and we should to discuss about the function. Because of that, the function is really necessary part. And as we discuss the activation function in our basic layer and in past video, like what is activation function, and so that's the important part. And for basic concept that people should to know about a function is all about like a little bit about what exactly function is and what the benefits of function in artificial intelligence and technical world, and how actually you the particular AI use a function to such as understanding, learning, and all this stuff. So for understanding function, so function is all about like input, logic, and output. The something you give a input to a particular function, and they process it and give you output. So this input is called also domain. This input is called domain because of that, like all possible input, like how possible input of the particular thing is called domain. So for particular function, like now suppose fx, now suppose this the best example, fx 2x plus 3. So x is a input, and input, the all possible input, like all real number as a and a part of the input, and all the possible input is called domain of this particular function. So that's called domain, and the output is called range. Range is all about like something you can say understand like using set theory and I think all this particular thing. uh, Range is all about like how much this particular data the range, like you said about like positive to say negative, you said 0 uh, to 10. So that is the range of the particular number, that particular function, like 0 to 10. So you the particular output is only for like output is only possible between 0 and 1, 0 to 10. Then only possible output here, uh, nothing outside from there, and this is the only range of this particular, so output is considered so function is entire process, so it entire logical part. So it is logical part which actually take a input and give as output as a range. Okay, so that is all about. So main way to discuss about the domain and range is all about something all possible, how much possible inputs that we can give, like 0 to 10, either only for positive number, either negative number. So it is all the part of the domain, and so this we can discuss. Range is all about like something all the possible outcomes that we get, like the only possible outcome is like positive number, never you got a negative number. So when you are reading a graph, so you understand much better. So that's all about. So function is all about like it's the entire process which is basically take an input and process it and give an output. So this is the best example. For example, if you give a input as 1, then I think like 2 plus 3 is it all about output is a 5. So the input is like 1 and output is a 5. So uh, so that's the particular function referred to. And function is important in artificial intelligence because of that when we are studying anything, so we need to understand like where this particular concept is necessary and is it important or not. So the important is because like generalization and flexibility to learn. So when you learn something, like when model want to generalize, so something like unseen data, they can understand unseen data by using activation function. As you know, the function to unseen data, they learn more pattern from unseen data but very efficiently. So that's the function that is responsible for generalization refer to learning from unseen data. So when model want to learn something from the unseen data, then activation help to just boost the performance to learn much faster and finding pattern on them. And secondly, like flexibility to learn. So it's providing flexibility to learn, like sometime loss, sometime like something reward. As you know, reinforcement learning is responsible for that. They flexible to learn, like finding pattern, sometime cluster, and sometime they form cluster, sometime they form like classification and all these kinds of problem. Like they use different types of flexible way and flexible methods to just learn from the data to finding a pattern. So that's provide a flexibility. So generalization and flexibility is the main factor that we can say like function is responsible for this. So that's all about it. So let me come to discuss the next part. Okay, let's come to last part, and our last part is all about the graph, and this is super important concept that you should to know. And In fact, that's the important concept. Because of that, when you analyzing all the metrics of their, like evolution metrics of the performance metrics of the particular model, then this particular concept is very important, like graph. So all these particular outputs and performance, can you are going to analyze all this particular thing is like in the graph. So basically, as we know, the visual representation of variable changes is called a graph. For example, let me explain you. Like this is y. Now suppose this is y and this is x. In this particular scenario, like how much the x, like how much the first x coordinate, like, and y coordinate, like both coordinate are changing, and we are going to such represent and analyzing particular thing, like all these particular changes in visually is in the form of graph. So that's called a graph. So graph is all about like visual representation of something, you can say x, and of the variable changes. So that is called a graph. uh, I think like three super important graph is like the first one is like line graph, and this is necessary to analyzing a loss and such a loss function, loss of the particular model, like how much the model is going to loss, and progress of the model and performance of the model. And the second thing, like scatter plot graph, like this plotting graph, like basically scatter the dot, like something like it look like something this. Okay, so it each outputs like showing, and this is an x-axis and this is y-axis. So if this particular dots, for best way to analyzing this particular thing, like by making a line. So if this particular plotting graph is like arranged in that in such a uniformly arranged, then you can say this particular graph is all about something. You can say it is all about like uh, having a like relationship between outputs, like every output have a relationship between them. So it's all about scattering plot graph. So this is a super important graph for understanding it. And the confusion matrix graph is look like something this is 5 to, let's suppose, 1 3, and this is a actual value, and this is predicted value, and this is a x and y axis. So it's look like this. So the confusion matrix graph. So confusion matrix graphs is all about something analyzing actual outputs, and what is the true value, what is the truly positive value, truly negative value, false positive, false negative, all this stuff. So that's all about it. And in horizontally they are like actual prediction and actual value and predictive value. So that's all about it. So line graph, scatter plot, and confusion matrix. So this is the three basic graph, and this is super important concept, so you should to know about it, like just figure it out more about this particular concept. And graph is really very important to understand. So in my description, if I give you a description around the graph, so graph is all about something visual representation of variable changes. So in AI, that graph is important, super important, because of that like analyzing performance matrix of the particular artificial intelligence, when you're going to analyze the matrix of the evolution matrix, so especially performance matrix, something like loss matrix, all this particular thing. So is necessary when you are doing the graph. So there were three main graph, like this particular graph, and the best way to understand this particular graph is all about something if this all particular dot are separately with a very far distance, you can say they have a no any relationship between output, and if they are linearly arranged, then you can say very strong a relationship between correlations with all dots, then shows a strong relationship between outputs, like predicted output and something, all this. So that's all about it. And this is confusion matrix is very metric graph is all about something how much actual prediction and what or not, to finding calculating like confusion matrix is by using accuracy and precision, the actual output and predicted output, how much the distance between both of them. So you are able to find out and just uh, on this particular graph facilitate the something, you can say uh, calculating the precision, accuracy, and all this stuff. So that's the important part to understand. So that's all about the graph. And I truly very fascinated about it. So I want to just know about like this kind of graph is important, and all this concept of the mathematics that you should to know, I will cover in this particular video. And I will try to explain all this particular concept that you should to know about mathematics basic concept. And tomorrow is a let me discuss tomorrow about the linear algebra and all this particular mathematical foundation concept that actually we are going to depth in such way, like that what we need, we are not focusing on like very like and looking toward the very wasteful things, like obviously not necessary. So we are not focusing unnecessary like and but we are focusing on necessary part of the mathematics. So we are try to understand all this linear algebra part and vector and all this stuff, like probabilistic and statistics you should to know, and that's the important part to understand. Okay, so that's enough for today. And if this particular video, again, if this particular video is going to productive for you, and if you learn something more there, then it's my pleasure. So see you soon. Thanks for watching.